the entire purpose of this morning thing is to give you a morning dosage of inspiration, maybe answer some questions first thing in the morning when our brain is the most awake for inspiration. Les Brown said it. He said when you wake up, for the first 20 minutes is when your brain is the most open, the most ready for messaging, the most influenceable. Influenceable is a word I just created, trademarked in 3 seconds because it's made up, it doesn't exist. But you know what I'm trying to say. So I really guard my first 20 minutes of every morning, my first 30 minutes of every morning. I don't check my phone. I don't go on the internet and start checking social media feeds and what everybody else did last night. It takes me at least 20 to 30 minutes to just get into my zone, think about what I want to do today, and everything I try to do, I try to have a bit of purpose behind it so that I know I can follow through it, which is kind of what today's conversation is about, yo. I was talking to an entrepreneur who's looking to go back into 9 to 5 yesterday. Just as a quick plug, my company, Ballot Group, we work with founders who are either on the startup scale, they've got an idea, they want to go to market, they're not sure how to do it yet. Amr, what's up, my brother? I love you. Hope everybody's safe. Or people that are trying to transition out of business because something is not working, and we try to see if we can help them, save them, give them a blueprint that could work and keep them in business. And this year has been extremely challenging for a lot of different people, and so we've been sort of doing the two ends. But one of the things I always start with anytime I meet an entrepreneur or a business person or somebody who feels like they're lost or confused in life, I start with, why are you doing what you're doing? And if you think about how simple the question is, why do you do what you do? It actually ends up being a very hard question for most people to answer. Because what we're used to answering is, what do you do? Or how do you do something? Like, what do you do? I run a store. What do you do? I'm an engineer. What do you do? I'm a teacher. What do you do? I'm an entrepreneur. What do you do? I'm a great mom. What do you do? So what we do has been what we've asked to be defined from a very young age. And for the 3 or 4 or 5 of you watching right now, comment, man, how would you answer the question, what do you do? And then how would you answer the question, why do you do what you do? And if you're watching this later, right, take a minute and write it down, because the what you do and how you do it is very programmatic. There's no emotion tied to it. There's no purpose tied to it. We think, but we don't. You can't tie a purpose around what you do. You tie a purpose around what you do, why you do it. And the reason this is a very interesting time to think about this is what COVID's done is challenge a lot of our daily routine that we were blindly following. The rat race. You're 5 years into a business. You're 10 years into a business. You have these habits that just made you who you are. I was a victim of that when I ran my agency. The first 8 years was full of purpose. And once we got past the 8 or 9 year mark and my purpose changed, because changes in my life happened. My dad passed away and we had another kid. And what's up, Native? Life changed my purpose. And I didn't pay attention to it, but I knew what I did every morning. I got out, went to work, managed about 65 people or so in Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, had a team in Brazil, had a team in India, and that's what I would do every day. I would call clients and try to get my work. I'll make sure the staff are happy, and the routine just happened. January 1st, woo, turned into March break, turned into summer break. What's up, Allison? Turned into winter holidays, and then the year's over. And then you repeat that over and over, because what we're really good at is doing the what and the how. Anybody that asked me anything in my first 8 years, you tell me what you do, my answer was full of the why. I help clients find the voice that translates to a connection to a customer. What we did was websites and apps and designs and et cetera, et cetera. And when we got into 8 or 9 years of running our business, that part disappeared. And then when somebody said, tell me what you do or why you do, the answer was always very technical. We did websites, we did designs, we did this and this, and we forgot the why. And most of my businesses, until my dad passed away, was really just to prove him wrong about me. I can say it now in my 40s without feeling any remorse or guilt or shyness about it. But I couldn't back then because I was my man. Like, I'm doing my thing. I'm doing my thing. But when I look back on it, so much of my early career was set up for one man's approval, for one man's celebration, and to prove one person wrong. And when he passed away, I didn't have that energy anymore. I didn't have that purpose the way I had it prior. And that was a big shift in my life. And I started to really ask myself, what am I doing? Why am I doing things? And how, or the best way to do things now. And if you're watching it, thank you for joining us. Native, what's up, my brother? Allison, what's up? What's up? Bijou was here. Ara. If you guys want to do me a favor and hit that share button and tell a friend this is happening, awesome. If you want to hang out with me, that's awesome too. If you have any questions, that's awesome. If you want to come on camera and say what's up to me and you got your morning all ready to rock, that's cool too. And this is a chapter I've been struggling with, in the book that I'm working on. How to articulate the why, not in a very preachy, bougie way. This is not about finding inner peace and spirituality and serving the universe. And there's other people who dig that vibe. I don't. I've never believed in that kind of stuff to a level where it becomes my daily thought. Rishi, what up? For me, it's a bit more pragmatic. It's a bit more of understanding, why the fuck do I get up in the morning? And if I can't answer that question, then what I want to do and how I want to do it has no relevance to me. And the craziest thing is up until March 1st, I knew exactly why I was building my incubator. I wanted to help people of color, women and minorities that don't have the skills or the funding or the family support to launch their businesses. I didn't care if it was e-commerce, if it was devices, it was a tire shop or a restaurant, it doesn't matter. Because I knew that segment intuitively because I came from that segment. We didn't have money, we were poor, we had a lot of energy and hustle, we'll outwork anybody. But we didn't have the resources, and that's what the company was about. And my why was so clear. And then COVID happened, and the folks that I was servicing and helping and serving didn't have the same why. Their why wasn't as strong as my why. So they stopped. They took the time off. They stopped their businesses. They wanted to go back into the cave and start thinking about who they were. That kind of messed me up because I was feeding off their why. I was feeding off their why into my why. And so I spent the first, 2 weeks in COVID, which is the second half of March, completely depressed. Completely depressed because there's a bunch of shit I can do. I can get up and do some consulting calls. I can get up and work on my music app or work on DC Fast or do a bunch of stuff. But I was so all in emotionally deep into this idea of helping others build a company that when that was snatched away and my why was taken away with it, I was literally in bed. I couldn't get up. For the first couple of weeks. I had no intention of getting up. When I did get up, I watched Netflix, ate some breakfast, went back to bed. And since then, things have changed. Since then, I've found a way to understand my own purpose and my own why. And so that's why this chapter is really important to me. I've been struggling to articulate it because I wanted it to be very rational and very simple to understand and not confusing and spiritual. And what's up, Shamila? And so that's what I wanted to sort of talk about today. If you have any questions, man, hit me up at the bottom. But here's how I see it, okay? Most of our lives, the day we were born, we're asked, what do we want to become? And most of us answer that with a hand-me-down life. I don't know what a fucking engineer does, or a doctor, or a lawyer, or a dentist, or accountant, or business person does at 10, 11 years old. I don't. People tell you, this is what you should do. And you're like, okay, that kind of sounds cool. And then, you try to find habits and match it. You're so good at math, you should be an engineer. Well, I don't know. What if I want to be a banker because I'm good in math? You're so good in design and you should be an architect. Maybe I want to be a painter. That's a different topic. But my point is, so much of what we do today is a hand-me-down life from the people that inspire us. Some of us, it works out. My brother is a fantastic project manager, works at a senior VP level in TD. He's got the MBA and the PhD and the whatever. And the path that was suggested to him made a lot of sense for him, and he followed it day one. My parents gave it to him. He loved it. And it was reinforced through his skill sets, and he believed in that, in his mode, and he went it. I, on the opposite side, my job options were garbage man, contractor, and very menial jobs, because somebody decided my education, since it wasn't good, that was my skill set. And I did the opposite. I reacted to it, and that's not my best life. So the what didn't make any sense to me from the age of like 7 or 8. So I couldn't figure out what I want to do. So I started focusing on, why do I want to do things? And that took me on this beautiful journey of starting companies. So my first point to you is, the reason you should ask yourself, why do I want to do anything, is you start to operate from a position of inspiration. Okay? And inspiration comes in so many different filters, so many different packages. Sometimes you're inspired by wanting to be a better person. Sometimes you're inspired by your fears. What the fuck does that mean, Sadsby? How do I get inspired by my fears? I'll tell you, okay? I'll tell you. My very first business, I was inspired by fear. Fear of being mediocre. Fear of getting an office job that I'm going to hate. Fear of somebody not even giving me a job because I had no confidence that I was a smart student. Think about that. I was inspired by my fears. And you could do that shit. You could look at your fears and go, man, I'm so afraid that I'm going to be, unhealthy and overweight, that I'm going to be signing up to become a fitness instructor, because it's going to force me to live a lifestyle that completely contradicts who I am today. That's one way, of taking your fear and turning it around into something that can help you. So being inspired by your fear, being inspired by, your own life, being inspired by other people's lives. When I started my agency, I didn't have an idea for what an agency did. I didn't have an idea for what an agency CEO did. All I knew is I'm following a bunch of really cool, creative people whose lives on the outside, which is all you can get inspired by, you don't know what's actually happening, was beautiful. They got to go to work every morning and look at beautiful designs. They became storytellers. They were asked to come and speak and keynote, and there were these figures of creativity, and I wanted to be that guy. So I was inspired by the top layer. There was no substance to it. Once I got into running my own agency, when we got to 50, 60 people, woo, none of that shit was going on. It was for me, horrible. It's one of the reasons I sold it. But on the outside, I was inspired by somebody's external life. And that's okay. It's okay to be inspired by other people's external life, because all you want to do is give your brain a bit of a vision into why you want to do the things you want to do. And in many ways, I manifested that. I was traveling the world. I was speaking. I was employing people all over the world. There was a lot of risk with it. But it got me to think about, why do I want to do the things I want to do? So inspiration is one. Number two is it allows you to define some level of purpose. Okay? And when I talk to people about purpose, it's not, what's up, Nirmala G, from For me, to be honest, I've always questioned myself. The best in life where I can't do it, then my girl motivated me to fight that fear and let it out and take the risk. That's what I'm going to do. That's amazing, man. Hats off to your girl, man. Finding a partner that supports us blindly, in some cases, with some force, like love force, is really, really important. None of us could do anything in life alone. There's you could, even to be, think about it. It's a graphic way to think about it. Even to be born, you can't do it by yourself. You need two people, in most cases, right? To be born. If you understand the simplicity of that statement, that from the moment we're born or to be conceived, we need other people in our lives. Doing anything alone doesn't make any sense. And it's in our DNA to attract people to us or join other people to contribute. And that's how society gets better. That's how our lives get better. That's how we function as humans, as tribes. So that's a great point. I hope you guys continue to hang together, do what you got to do. So getting back to the topic, so inspiration is one. We're talking about purpose. The purpose doesn't have to be big, grandioso, man. The purpose isn't about I'm going to make billions of dollars, which is what we tend to think about, right? Money, money, money. Or we tend to think about being philanthropic. I need to plant 1,000 trees, or I want to feed so many people. And both of them are so ginormous. Like, purpose seems to be made into this big show and tell. You need to do something grand, or you need to help a ton of people. Purpose is as simple as I want to do something that makes me feel good. And you can be selfish about it. This particular talk, whether 5 of you watch it, 100 of you watch it, hopefully thousands of you watch it as we get to episode 100, the primary purpose is for me to release the thoughts in my head and share it with the world. And that's okay. And so I don't get beat up if one person watches or 10 people watch or nobody watches. I'm doing this shit every single day because the purpose for me, it comes from within. But if my purpose was like, hey man, I want to be a celebrity on Instagram, I want to share a bunch of shit and thousands of people should watch me, the stress and the depression that follows that is ridiculous and it's unwarranted. So when you think about your whys, try to find a purpose. Find a purpose that's super simple. It could be, I want to save up enough money to move out of my parents' house. Your purpose could be, I want to build a conscious network of people around me. The 5 people you hang with every day define who you are because they influence you. So maybe that's your purpose. I want to find the best 5 people to roll with me. Or I want to take a step towards the one thing I fear and try to battle it. I'm afraid of speaking. I'm going to join a speakers network, or I'm going to go online and share, right? Finding that purpose is really, really important. And it could be very, very tiny. It could be very, very tiny. I don't know if my buddy Allison is still watching, but she's changing people's lives by helping you with a purpose that is about health and fitness, and it's about self-care. So sign up. That's one way of saying, hey, I want to take a step towards having a different purpose. Most of the time, the purpose of the stick really well is when you do it for others. Okay? So I'm doing this as a purpose for me, but I know people watch it. And I know I get at least one comment after every video from somebody that says, man, I picked up something simple, something small from what you just said. It was life-changing for me or inspirational for me, and thank you. And that's really important because, like I said, we are, as humans by design, it's in our DNA to find and connect with other people. And so knowing that anything you do, your why can be tied to others is really important in a very small way. And when you look around at all the things you're doing, I guarantee almost everything you put out in life is unconsciously or consciously touching somebody else. And if that is the case, where everything you put out consciously or unconsciously is touching another person, you might as well do it with purpose. Even on your social media, people that do TikToks and people that do, social media on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, you're choosing to put content out. And if you're going to do that, why? And if your why is, I want to inspire somebody else, or my piece of content can make somebody stop and giggle or take a break or see something differently, that's an amazing purpose. But if you don't have it, you're just putting up shit for the sake of putting it, A, you won't do it, and B, it won't be the best things you can put out there. The other thing I've been thinking about is to truly have a purpose that like gets you, excited, and your why that is super strong. You need to figure out how it could be bigger than you. Okay, when I started the agency, it started for me. I needed a creative outlet. What's up, Emmett? But what ended up happening is we realized about 5 years into it that we're not in the business of creating websites and in the business of creating solutions and tech. What we were really in the business of, and I didn't realize it, was we were hiring new immigrants and giving them a chance to have a resume like nobody else. This is early 2005 and 6. And when I look back on my history, you didn't miss anything, man. I love you for it. Thank you for joining. The fact that you're here means a lot to me. The fact that we spent almost all of our time finding talent that haven't been given a chance was something we did unconsciously because of who I am. And when we turn that into a corporate philosophy of like hiring people whose first jobs in Canada could be Blue Band Digital, that became a very powerful thing for us. Hiring people became fun, it became purposeful, it became a story that we can weave into who we are today. And so anytime you can do something where you can put other people's needs as part of your why, things just get tighter. Like think of it as like, this is a bad analogy, but like, shitty fabric and clothes that you can buy the shit that's like cheap in H&M, and it's like you can hold up the cloth and t-shirt and you can see all the holes in it. It's not stitched. So you wear it 1, 2, 3 times, it's gonna rip. You're gonna put it in the washer, it's gonna die, it's gonna rip, but it's $9.99 for a t-shirt. You spend that extra $30 and get a quality shirt and you hold it up in the light. The light doesn't come through because it's stitched so nicely that it's gonna stay tighter. You're gonna wear it 1,000 times. You're gonna wash it 1,000 times, and it stays good. And that for me is what, like having that why figured out, is it connects the dots between your what and the how. And the why is the thing that makes sure that the quality of what you're doing is really dope. The other thing I wanted to mention is, to really figure out your why, you kind of have to listen to your younger self, the 8-year-old, the 5-year-old. We start getting ideas about our purpose as early as 5 years old, man. Can you imagine? At 5, your inner voice is already telling you, showing you, guiding you, the kind of person you have the potential to become. Without all the other rules from the world and the planet, because at your core, you haven't understood the world's rules yet. At a young age, you haven't got the rule book that the world's going to hand you. And when you don't have that framework, you are at your closest to who you are to dream about a life that could be yours. And then we spend the rest of our lives putting blocks around that idea. I can't do this. Oh no, I can't do that. Or my parents said I can't do this. Or I come from a poor family and I can't do that. We start to build these walls. That ends up becoming most of our life until, midlife crisis happens or somebody comes in and breaks that fucking thing. A mentor, a partner, a moment in life. I share one more story with you guys. I had these walls. I'm married now, so I can't do certain things. I got kids, so my risk level is different. I've got staff. I'm a public figure, so I got all these fucking walls, man, of like, versus what I really wanted to do. And then one random winter night, I play basketball and I go to the bathroom and there's blood. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? And that turned into a 2-year journey of doctors and tests and pokes and needles, all to get to a point where I was told I have a tumor in my kidneys. And then another 6 months of like recovery time. And it's crazy because the tumor was benign, so they can just cut it off. And they put me to sleep, and I was, I was getting ready for the operation, and the guy's like, "Look, it's literally like there's this thing here. We have this knife, and we just sort of shave at it like their slicer, the meat slicer, and then it'll just grind itself down, and then we're done. And then you wake up and you won't feel anything." And that was the story I was told, and I was like, "Cool." So they put me to sleep. And when I woke up, there's all sorts of tubes everywhere. And I was like, what the fuck's going on? Why do I have all these tubes coming out of me? And they're like, look, when the first slice happened, you flinched. And when you flinched, it cut deeper. And because it cut deeper, we couldn't save the fragments of the tumor to really make sure it's benign. And the cut is in your kidneys, so it can't heal as fast as it could if it's on your skin. So for the next at least 3 to 4 weeks, you have to have a pipe and all sorts of shit so that things could happen in your body. So you got to stay in bed. And I was like, wait a second. How could I be the one person that has the 1% chance of flinching? Why wasn't I frozen? I had all these thoughts. Because now I'm a CEO of a business that's running at full speed, and I'm supposed to be at home. And the most magical thing that happened in that story for me is all of the other rules that I've created broke. I couldn't be a husband during those few weeks. I couldn't be a father during those few weeks. I wasn't a CEO for those few weeks. It was just me and myself lying in bed for almost 4 weeks by myself, understanding what is happening and why it's happening. And I came out of that thing going, man, so much of the things that I thought I couldn't do. I can't take a day off. I can't now work until 6 p.m. I can't miss a meeting. I can't cancel appointments. I can't. All these fucking things that I think that I needed to do or not do, it forced me to look at it differently. And all of a sudden, all of those boundaries that I've created for myself didn't matter anymore. Steve Jobs says it, everything in life is made up by somebody else. And I never truly believed it until that moment. And it took a life-changing cancer scare with an operation that 1% didn't go for me to understand that lesson. And since then, I question everything. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Whose rules are these? Are these my rules? Society's rules? Family rules? And COVID has done a magical, magical job of questioning this for millions of people. People that didn't think they can work from home. People that didn't think they could change their lifestyle. People that didn't think they could be stronger than they needed to be. And then COVID came and said, fuck you, I'm going to test you. And then you discovered something about yourself in these COVID times, that you were goddamn stronger than you thought you were, and that you got more fight in you than you thought you did, and that you were willing to break the rules that it was made out to live the life you want to live. And that's why knowing your why is so important, and listening to that inner child who doesn't have any rules yet, and spending most of our lives muting that person. I knew when I was 5 years old that I wanted to be in the entertainment business without knowing what the entertainment business was. I had dreams of being on stage in front of thousands of people. Without knowing what a mic was, I had one in my hand in my dreams when I was 5 years old. I had no idea what all of it meant back then. But I know now that anytime I'm doing anything in music, entertainment, connecting with people, creating content, speaking with people, that is the best of me. And if I ignore money for a second, if I ignore accountability to being the dad and the husband and all this stuff, that inner voice hasn't left me in 45 years. So when the fuck am I going to start listening to it? At 50? At 60? When I'm retired? When it's time to relax? So I urge all of you, if you are watching this, to take a minute and find that inner voice, man. And finally, I'm almost at the end. Thank you for listening to me. The why is never about the money. I know the show is called Making Money Moves. It's never about the money, because money is the one thing you can never predict. People think they can create a formula to make money. You can't. There's so many variables that comes to when you're making money. And there's too many. Yes, there's moments where it's short term, like, all of those people that made killer off like buying and selling shit, the masks and stuff. The short-term money. All of us can find a short-term income. But to create real revenue that's sustainable, that grows, that feeds who you are, it's not that easy. So I never think about the money part. But I can tell you in 25 years of being an entrepreneur that why you do and what you do and how you do it gets connected, money flows all the time. It's all around you. And it becomes more visible when you connect the three together. Okay? But what you don't do is you start with how do I make money? Because everything else now becomes minimized and it's not sustainable. Thank you, man. I can't really imagine. We were providing incredible respect to you. Thank you so much. It's not easy to follow your inner voice. 100% Amit, man. 100%. That's why it's so important, right? It's not easy to follow our inner voice because we've spent a majority of our life fighting against it. Think about it. Every single year that you get older, you spent 12 more months, 365 more days not listening to that voice. And I'm 45, okay? So I haven't listened or really paid attention or focused on it or give it a platform for 40 years. What else can you do in life where you can ignore the one thing you shouldn't ignore for that amount of years and still say I'm happy? It's impossible. It's impossible. I spent so much money on ridiculous therapies and shit. And I love therapists, man. Like, they have a perfect role in society to help people figure this shit out. But almost everybody I've been to in my last 25 years always goes back to my younger version. Tell me what it's like growing up. Tell me what it's like with your relationship with your parents. Tell me what it's like, with your siblings. And they try to go back to the early days to connect the dots or look at the dots that weren't connected. And that's what I'm doing for you, saying, hey, save $300 an hour. Simply start to listen. And it doesn't mean when you start today, it's going to be loud and clear. It's going to be muffled and distorted. It's going to be like that CB radio. And every single day, every single moment, every single week, you start to listen to it a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And then it gets clearer and clearer and clearer. I don't know how many of you guys are old enough to remember the back in the days when, like, you had TV channels. You get like 2 or 3 and then all of them were fuzzy. Well, if you stared at the fuzzy channel long enough, and I know y'all done it, if you stare at the fuzzy channel long enough, you start to see the show. It's trippy. You start to see humans, you start to see shapes, you start to see settings, and eventually you can watch a pretty cool show in the fuzzy channel as a kid. Don't lie, okay? If you know what I'm saying, drop me an emoji, because I know y'all have done it. Especially dudes when they were teenagers trying to figure out life. We had to find them channels and stare at it. Okay, real talk right now. And that for me is the process of like trying to understand the inner child. It's fuzzy as fuck, but you got to stare at it. You got to listen to it. You got to stare at it. It won't make sense. And then it'll kick in. Very last thing. This is just my personal opinion. Amit, I know you've done it too, bro. It's cool. We've all done it, fuzzy channels. I love my fuzzy channel analogy. Final thing about the why, and then I'm done. This is just for me, uh, from the cancer thing to selling my company because my purpose was gone or whatever. Um, what I find is when I'm able to connect why do I want to do things with what do I want to do, and then how do I get it done, I seem to operate from a place of some kind of peace. The fear of failure is almost gone. It's always going to be there to like give you a small reminder of what's at stake. But it's so tiny that you can be brave. And operating out of that inner peace is my greatest wish for everybody that I meet. That it's not about how much money you make. It's not about chasing the fame. It's about operating from a position of peace as often as we can, because our greatest adversity, our greatest challenger is yourself. And if you can find a way to create moments of peace with yourself, then no matter what you're doing in life, no matter how you're doing it in life, why you're doing it will help all of those come together. And that for me, Professor Ansel, what's up? All the way from Brazil. I love you, brother. Hope you guys are keeping safe. And I'll give you a couple of parting examples from my own life on the what, why, and how. What I want to do is bring the entire South Asian community together, regardless of whether you're Hindu, Muslim, Punjabi, whether you're male or female, whether you're 60 or 16, whether you speak Tamil or Hindi. I believe the community coming together on common beliefs that we share as families who care about their future kids and generations is important to me. Why? Because I came from a broken family that's separated on culture and religion and expectation. And I've seen the damage that created. And the way I was able to do this is through the AC Fest. If you distill it, it's a fucking music show. 30 artists come and perform, 100,000 people come check it out. There's nothing genius about it. There's 100 formulas that do this. But when I connected my purpose and my what and my how, it's given me 14 beautiful years of peace. It's one of the best days of my life to be on stage for 12 hours. It's the best stress I love from January to June working on this thing. It's the best team I've ever worked with of all the companies I've ever had. Because for me, the AC Fest is the most purest, purpose-driven thing I've been doing my entire life. 14 years of anything, it ain't no joke. But it didn't feel like it's a lot of work. It felt natural because I'm at peace with why I'm doing it. And my why is strong enough that what happens and how could change. Look at us. We're now digital. We haven't done a show. But I'm equally excited this year, or even more than we've done it in any other year, because now we have a bigger reach, a larger community that I can engage with, bigger conversations that I could have. So my purpose and my why is exactly the same, man. I see humans every single night and we talk about music, and the feed is full of people from different backgrounds, different countries, different cultures, and we're truly celebrating the culture together. The what is still the same. It's music and entertainment. The how has changed from live shows to Facebook and Instagram. But because I know my why, I'm in peace. And that's all I want to share with you guys today. I hope whatever you're doing amazing. I hope you have a chance to think about your why. And I hope you also understand that this is not a big, drawn-out, grandiose process that is only there for the enlightened few of us. This is for everybody. This is for you and me. I don't care if you're an employee at an amazing bank, or if you're an entrepreneur, or you're running your own franchise, or you're at home stuck, don't know what to do tomorrow, all of us can answer those three questions of what do I want to do? Why do I want to do it? And how's the best way to do it to give me the inner peace that I so desperately deserve and seek? Thank you guys. I love you as always. Please come back tomorrow because it'll be day number 9 and then day number 10. And I can't believe I'm doing this for 10 days in a row. It's incredible. And you give me the motivation and the inspiration to get up every morning to share a piece of like what's in my brain. I love you. I will see you tomorrow. Thank you again.